Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday and welcome to Dreamstruck. We are so excited tonight because we have a special guest from home office. He is an executive with Sensi and he is our Chief Culture Officer. I hope I pronounced all that properly. But we are so blessed to be able to have an evening with Chuck Thompson. Chuck, are you on? I know I saw him there. You might have to unmute yourself.
No, I'm here. I'm just moving to a separate room because it was the one I was in was washing out my screen.
Oh, no worries. No worries at all. Well, we are so excited that you're taking time out of your evening schedule to meet with us. Basically, what we do is we meet every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central, and it consists of about 7 superstar directors in our groups, and we offer training, wisdom, and different guidance. And so we are so excited to have you on as a special guest to be able to share some of your wisdom, your Sensi story. And as we end the evening, we are really excited about what happened last September. And we are really, excited about October. We're just 12 days in. And I think I can speak for all of us. We're having an amazing month already, and we're not even halfway through. So as the evening ends, we are excited to get some tips as well as far as how we can maximize the opportunity of October with the host incentive. That's something that's new, and so many LTOs. So we're excited. So thank you so much again for taking the time. I know when we left off with you, it was the end of month live and you had to get your dog out of jail. So can you kind of give us an update?
Yeah. I swear, I got to find a place that I don't see all this light though. It's driving me crazy. Oh. It's like, man, I got like angles everywhere. Hold on. That's the curse of having a lot of windows in your house, I guess. No, dog's fine. He is. It's kind of funny. I don't know if you guys know, but my oldest son is autistic. He's on the spectrum and has autism. And sometimes we think our poor dog is on the spectrum. It's kind of funny because he just says some of those traits. But no, he'll literally go across the street and you'll call him and he'll look like he doesn't know which way's home. So, but fortunately he's very well known around the neighborhood. And so they kind of take good care of him. But he went into a place where we've had a lot of move-ins. He went into one of the neighborhoods where there's a lot of new people. No, this is last time I was on their call. I had to go take care of Bridger. So anyway, now that's where he's at. And he's back home and healthy. So,
oh, that's good news.
So
that's
kind of fun.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah. Well, at least he's out of jail. So, okay. So again, we're excited to have you join us tonight. And we've met with Heidi and Orville, and we've met with Colette, and we've heard their Sensi story. And we were just wondering, you've been here since the beginning, and I don't know that many of us have heard how Sensi began for you. So if you wouldn't mind just maybe introducing yourself and what do you do at Sensi for us and for the employees, and how did your journey begin with Sensi?
No, sounds good. Yeah, so I'm Orville's older brother, and so about a year and a half in, they had gotten to the point where they needed a little bit of help, and so my brother called me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming and working for me?" And I was like, no, I don't really want to go do fairs and shows. I mean, but anyway, he kind of explained what Sensi was. I kind of knew what it was offhand before, but it just seemed to be, it's my little brother's latest business. But anyway, in the fall of 2006, I came to work for him and Heidi. And I think at the time I was employee number 11, something like that. And we had there was me and a gentleman named Kevin Priest. So if you guys know Kevin and Becky Priest, he was working for us as one of the executives. So there was me and Kevin and Orville and Heidi. My responsibilities back then were mainly the finance department. I came in to build our accounting systems and some of our business rules around, how we were going to recognize inventory and all those kind of boring accounting things that you have to set up. So, but at the same time, we didn't have any consultant support. We had a couple of people that would answer phones for us. But so while I was building the finance side of it, I was also helping to build the consultant support organizations. And because there were only 4 of us, we kind of did everything else too. Orville spent most of his time with product and what he did. Kevin was most of his time around manufacturing and shipping and the operations side of it. And I did the support and the finance side of it. As things grew, just over the years. So I was CFO, so Chief Financial Officer, till about 6 years ago now, I think it was. But even all the times when that was my dedicated work, I always sort of had my hand, if only from an influencer role, in a lot of the other departments, just kind of as a Sensi spirit guide, I like to, we sometimes would call it. And so it's been about 6 years now. We were at a time in the company, and some of you that have been around a long time and have seen ups and downs. I saw Carol on here in one of the screens, but anyway, about 8 years ago, maybe, there was a real, there was a bit of a departure of the company as a whole. The culture was going a way that we didn't really want it to go. Internally, there were some, problems. And so we all got together and realized that our Sensi spirit, our Sensi culture was so important that it required someone's full-time attention to get it back on track. And so Orville asked me to become Chief Culture Officer. That was my title. And mainly what I was doing at that time was going back into consultant support, looking at all of their standard operating procedures, their SOPs, going into compliance and seeing how they're doing. And if you remember back then, those of you who do remember, as frustrating as customer service or consultant support can be now, it was in shambles. They didn't have really good processes and procedures, and they were just kind of making it up as they went along. So anyway, I went and helped there, but I was also, really, I would go into all of the different departments and would kind of look over what they're doing and just make sure that it fit the Sensi culture that Orville and Heidi wanted to build and wanted to maintain. And so I didn't have anybody reporting to me. I was just by myself. And I would just work in whatever department needed me, kind of as a mentor of a lot of new people coming in. So they understood this vision of what Sensi needed to be. About 4 years ago now, I think it is, it became clear that we needed to make a few more changes. And so I kept my Chief Culture Officer role. I always liked it as far as the title, but I formally took over the team, the development, training, events, the Sensi store, support, compliance, and account services. And I formally took over those departments as their manager. And it's about the time that Deb was coming around, and that we had hired Annie and a few other new people, and we were transitioning from a couple of hires that we had made that had left, and we weren't sad about it. Let's just leave it at that. And so I spent a couple of years mentoring Deb, and getting her in a position where she could take over the development and training teams. And so she was elevated to a C-level position and took that piece of my work away, the development and training piece of it. And then she was also given some communication roles. So I've maintained, so currently the departments that I oversee are the compliance department, consultant support, account services, the store, events, and incentives, incentive trips and those kind of things, because it kind of goes along with events. Apart from that, we as a C-level, apart from that, one of the other things that I was asked to make sure is that we maintain our business rules. Now, business rules are those kind of things that we decided as a company that this was just going to be a rule and we're going to follow it. For example, the compensation plan, right? They can't change the compensation plan without my permission. And so that if anyone wants to change a business rule, the way that we operate the business, that's just something that has to get my approval. But I work really closely with Dan and the rest of the C-levels to kind of forward the direction. But, my main thing for me is, so now my official title is Chief Engagement Officer, Consultant Engagement Officer. And to me, that just means that my responsibilities are to maintain a relationship with you guys and engage with you. I'll always be training. I'll always be, my nature is always going to be those kind of things, motivating, whatever else. But really, it's to make sure that that we are just kind of staying close together as a family as we should. Orville has always taught us that the home office, we are a servant organization. You guys are not our sales department. We are your service organization. And so keeping that balance, maintaining that balance with the goals of the company has always been really important. So that's what I do now. That's why you'll generally see me a lot, even though sometimes it doesn't make any sense. But it's one of those things where, go ahead.
Socks because I'm kind of getting tired of wearing tight.
Anyway,
sorry.
no, it's okay. So that's what I do there. Do you want me to go just through these questions, Teresa?
So I want to turn around. You mentioned Carol's name, and so she's on, and she kind of started in the beginning as well, along with you all. And so we did have some questions. And Carol, did you have one ready that you wanted to share with Chuck?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. So, I don't know.
Well, I know he touched on compliance. And so I know that he's really worked hard over the past couple of years to change the negative connotation of compliance. And I think that Home Office and Chuck has done an awesome job with that. But I know that we had some questions about compliance. So we can start there.
Okay.
Say the same ones you had written down.
Yeah. So if we have a compliance department, what are some top issues that we need to know about? That are currently being tackled by your department.
So who, by a show of hands, I don't have all of you on here, who understands why we even have a compliance department? Why even bother? That question comes up a lot, right? Why do we even bother? Why are we getting in consultants' businesses? Why can't I do what I want to do? Why are there even rules that I have to follow? And one of the interesting things is that while you all have an independent business and you within the parameters of what you want to do within your business, it works great. But with any business where there are multiple stakeholders, for example, like a McDonald's, a McDonald's franchise can't just do whatever they want. There are certain guidelines that they have to follow. And there is a compliance group. I put myself through school working at McDonald's, so this is why I did. There was a compliance group that made sure that all of the franchisees were doing what they were supposed to do, because when there's one bad McDonald's, it reflects on all of the McDonald's. And it's the same kind of thing. There's certain aspirations and guidelines that we would like to see as a company, that Orville and Heidi wanted to see as a company. And so that a couple of things, mainly it's so that the reputation of Cincy stays pretty clean. So what are the top issues? The top issues generally are around those areas where one individual tries to do an unfair leg up on another individual. So advertising personal specials publicly, that's a top issue. That's one of the top issues. We do a lot of e-commerce, the eBays, the Amazons. That is somewhat of a major issue. People trying to put Cincy in retail stores. That tends to be a pretty big issue. Sadly, missing customer orders is somewhat of a big deal. Where consultants will take money and not place the order. And then we have, so those are sort of the major ones. And then one of the things that I deal a lot with, because I think it takes a lot of experience, let's use that word, is interpersonal conflicts. That those conflicts between uplines and downlines and other consultants. And so, but those are really the top ones, the ones that, basically the advertising of the personal specials is probably the main one that most of them go by. And then there's sort of like a tail, and then there's all sorts of them, everything from, that your name is wrong on, you've used Cincy inappropriately. The Disney advertising comes up somewhat, but you guys for the most part are pretty good about that. And it's never a blatant problem. The other major one we have now are the giveaways, the raffles and the pay to plays. Those are somewhat problematic. So does that sound familiar, or do you guys have other things that your teams are always basically being talked about with compliance? There's one that we're going to talk about here a little bit later, I think. Yeah. But that's not a top one. That's not a top one, although that is it's one of the you have two of them on here I think we're going to talk about, but neither one of those is a big issue from a compliance standpoint, but it is an issue that does affect people.
So I guess one of the questions, I think as leaders and sponsors, we do a pretty good job with sharing, compliance and the rules. But, eBay and Amazon has really, and Macari, I didn't even know that existed until a year ago. But those have been some heavy topics lately. Can you kind of explain why? Why is that not an okay thing for us to do as consultants? How does it hurt us?
How does it hurt you as consultants? It's one of these things where early on, it's a little bit, well, let's see how to put this. So even before Macari, eBay, all that, when Cincy first started, eBay had been around for a long time. But if you look in our standards, it basically says if you're going to do a transaction, it has to be done through your PWS. It has to be done through your PWS or your workstation. Sorry, right? You can't have an external website that you have a checkout functionality on it. And so through that, that's really what an Amazon or an eBay store becomes, is a secondary place that you can do transactions with. And so where we have that, there's a need to have it to where, hey, as a Sensi consultant, your transactions online need to be through the PWS. And that way it's pricing's easier to control. There's just a lot of easy controls. And you're able to try to catch the gray market and the black market on those other sites, selling counterfeit goods and things like that. We've been pretty fortunate that we don't have counterfeit goods on there, but we definitely have a lot of people selling on eBay that are not consultants. When I say eBay, I mean on e-commerce sites. And so really it's each individual has a chance to build up their business. And so what you'd not want to see, and there's actually a debate going on internally as to whether or not we just allow people on Amazon. And we have the same set of rules that say, you can't advertise a personal special. You have to clearly identify who you are. And every time we've gone down that road, it's just been, number one, why? And number two is it's just fraught with problems. So we provide a place to become an e-commerce person. We provide a place to have an e-commerce platform. So there really shouldn't be a need to go on those other sites.
And then pay to play, you touched on that for a moment too. That's kind of an area that we're really kind of looking at. What is pay to play and how does it harm us?
Okay, there's two. I think there's a little bit of confusion. Let's go pure pay to play. What pay to play means is you're charging somebody for a chance to win, or you're asking someone to you're forcing a purchase for a chance to win a random drawing. Those are illegal unless you have a license to do it, T's and C's, disclosures. That's why when you see on TV, whenever you see a giveaway, it's always no purchase necessary, go here to enter, right? Those are legal problems. And 99.9% of the people trying to do a one-off drawing or raffle, that's actually illegal activity. And also it's gambling. So that's why it's illegal. But there's a philosophical point that a consultant shouldn't be selling 100 tickets for $3 for a $50 warmer. It's just dishonest. And that's what happens. So, but that's pure pay to play, which says, and even in the standards, I'll go back to that. 3 years ago or so, when I first took over, our goal was to rewrite the standards to make them hopefully a little bit easier to understand and to set the standards that we have to get approval from all these outside legal people, have reviews, to have those be a little more generic with the point with the, hey, check also the compliance guide. The compliance guide, we can update that as questions come in as how we interpret the standards. And so that's why we went to the new standards where we have the standards and then we have this compliance guide. A lot easier to look at, a lot easier to read, hopefully, but that compliance guide can be a living document. So as we have questions like this, where hey, we still don't understand that. We have a discussion. Oh, now I understand it. We can incorporate that into the guide so you can later go on and later teach it. But I think sometimes with the pay to play, people have thought we say you can't do any giveaways. And that just isn't, that's not the case. They're not the same thing. A pay to play is simply, I'm charging you for a chance to win. Whether that's I want $2 or whether that's you need to buy a product. If that makes sense.
It
You're on
does.
mute.
And I think, sorry, Kelly, you want to jump in with your compliance questions?
Sure. Hi, Chuck.
Hey,
One of the things we wanted to make sure that we cover tonight, because I think it's something that it can be seen a couple different ways, so we could go over those, but cross promoting is huge. And I'd like you to maybe go into detail on what is cross promoting and how does Sensi's corporate and all the other people come into play, and when and if that happens, what is the recourse that they take? Because I know in my personal business, I encourage them that compliance is not the bad guy. They're there to help you and teach you and help you grow and learn. They're not there to say, hey, you know, you can't do this, you're out of here, because it's never been the case. But can you go and touch on the cross promoting?
absolutely. So cross promoting, the way we look at it is, and if you read it, it says leveraging your Sensi derived contacts to benefit another business. So it's, if you met these people through Sensi, they are not yours to promote another business to. They belong to your upline. They belong to your downline if they're their downline's customers, all the way up to where they somewhat belong to Sensi. So we don't consider cross promoting if you have another business that you keep separate from your Sensi contacts. But the reason that's in place is because direct selling is fraught with stories of entire downlines leaving their company and taking their entire downlines with them to go do another company. And they've been cross promoting this other opportunity in secret. And so it's just, even though you might have brought that consultant in, you don't have sole ownership over that contact. Your upline has a claim to them, Sensi has a claim to them, and you as an individual don't have the right to solely benefit in addition to what benefit is brought up to those others. So that's why if you knew them before, then nobody has a right to say you can't promote to them. But if there is somebody that you met because of Sensi, that is an out of bounds person to market another opportunity or business to. And it's just simply because you really haven't earned the right without hurting somebody else to promote a different business to that person. It kind of comes down to a natural rights thing. And that's why even in our standards, it said we don't have a restriction that says you can't be in another direct selling company, for example. No, most direct selling companies say you become a director, you can't even be a customer of another or a preferred customer of another direct selling company. We don't have that restriction because Orville has always thought that we don't have the right to tell people what they can do. But we do have the right to say, if that contact was derived from your association with Sensi, they are off limits to cross promoting any other opportunity because we're selfish and we don't want anyone being distracted by something other than Sensi. And we're not selfish for Sensi because one person cross promoting doesn't do anything to our sales or anything else. We are vigilant to protect your upline and your downline. That's why we're vigilant about that, because that's who it hurts. It hurts at the micro level, doesn't hurt at the macro level. We absorb people that leave for cross promoting all the time, but it devastates teams. And as a leader, we look at it as a leader, and if a leader chooses to be in two different companies, then again, we don't step in. But if a downline becomes aware of it, then they have the right to say, I want another upline. I don't want to be on this person. She's got another company. Her loyalties are swayed. And again, it's not, and we're not saying as a company or as a compliance team that, oh, you can't do that, right? We don't want to limit somebody what they can do. Our only restriction is you have to keep it separate from your Cincy-derived community. And when you're talking about online, it's really impossible to do that. It's really difficult. But there are some people that do it. I know of a couple of star directors that I know are also in other companies. So it can be done. And because I know it, doesn't matter. I'm not marketed to. None of their downline know it. None of their Cincy friends or contacts know it. So it's not my, I told this to the compliance team. We have what we call Chuck Talks. Really early on, I said, you guys are going to put away your shovels. You're going to deal with the report of the person in compliance. Someone got turned in for something. You're not to go digging for other things they might have been doing. Just deal with the thing that was brought to your attention. And that's helped somewhat, I think. But did that answer your question?
Yeah, that really did. And I love how you explained it as well. We all have growing teams, and so many of us at any level and all titles, we work so hard to develop our team members, to mentor them. And sometimes it's just like a punch in the gut when there's like just a blast invite to like another party for nails or jewelry. And usually at those parties, they're doing like us, they're offering the opportunity, and it's a conflict of interest. And in some cases, those that are being invited, they don't even know the host. Their only connection is through Cincy. So I'm very glad that you offer, the freedom to say, listen, if you want to be a part of something else, that's great. Let's just not cross the water. So that way we don't, inconvenience someone else or put someone in an awkward position that they don't want to be solicited in. So thank you for sharing that. I know that Superstar Director Amber Turner has a question about mystery hosts, and she can explain to you what a mystery host is. I think that's a topic that's come up on her team page. And so Amber, if you want to ask that.
Let me give you one more. Let's give you one story and why it is so dangerous. We had a Superstar Director that had another, I think it was another, it was somebody upline from her that was like a star consultant, invited her to another company's party, just like you say. She was a very active SSD, very successful. She went to this party, absolutely fell in love with the company. Had a follow-up party. It really spoke to her, right? She's it was really sad, but she called us up and said, hey, I found a new passion. I don't want to burn my bridge. What do I do? How do I, leave without being a cross promoter? She didn't want to cross promote, but she found an additional passion. Most of her business now, and it was thriving, some of it is still there, but most of it is gone. Now, would she have found that company eventually? Maybe. But the fact that another Cincy consultant was the reason she knew about this other company has caused untold harm to her upline. Even if it took her 6 more months to find it, there were 6 more months that she was building a thriving team. So was it really that person's right to talk to somebody else that now, the one person that invited her, sure, she got a little bit out of it. But anyway, that's why cross promoting to your current Cincy contacts is just such an unfortunate event to have happen.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that it's a comfortable, community where we're not solicited and pulled in all these other directions. The common ground for us is Sensi. Doesn't mean that you can't have parties with other companies. It's just keep Sensi separate, just to be respectful to your peers, your upline and your downline. So we got it. All right, thank you,
Yep.
Chuck.
Yep.
Amber, can you unmute yourself? I know you had a question that you wanted to ask.
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted. Hey, Chuck, how are you?
Hey, I'm great.
Clint was like, Chuck's going to be on tonight. He might poke his head in here at some point. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I know Mystery Host is something that a lot of consultants use to kind of boost their business. And so can you tell us how we can conduct Mystery Host within compliance?
Amber, can you explain what a Mystery Host is for those that don't know?
Okay, so for those who don't know, Mystery Host basically is you are giving all of the host rewards from your order to one person. And so that helps them to see the benefit of having a party, maybe without having a party. So they get all the free and the half price stuff from your order.
Okay, it's nuanced, but it's easy. So if you were basically the same kind of rules apply to a pay to play. So if you were to say, hey, in order to be eligible for my host rewards, you have to place an order. For my mystery host, you have to place an order. That you can't do. But you can say, whoever brings me the most customers will be my mystery host. Whoever brings me the most orders will be my so you'll earn it, and it's not a competition, and it's not a random drawing. If it's random in any way, you can't charge for it, and you can't force a purchase for it. That turns it into a raffle, and that's the pay to play. But there are tons of ways to do mystery host. It could be something like, hey, I'm having a mystery host party, and I'm going to choose it out of one of my guests. Right? There's no earning it. You have to place an order. It's just, and it'll be awarded to one of our guests. So essentially the anticipation of the reward has to have if you do this, you'll get it. And then you're fine. So whoever brings me the most customers, and in actuality, doing it that way actually makes the mystery hostess a lot more effective anyway. Because honestly, if all you're doing is using your mystery hostess, if you're using your host rewards just to get customers to order, you're really selling your business short. Host rewards should be earned. You should never give them away for nothing other than an order. Always in your mystery host parties, the most customers, the biggest PRV, something that they have to earn. Because if you give them away for nothing, what's the motivation for anybody to host a party for you? I'll just wait till the next one, because everybody would rather, that's why lotteries work. Everybody would rather go pay $5 for a chance to win 10,000 than to just go out and figure out a way to earn 10,000, right? It's the same kind of thing. If you're giving away these rewards for nothing, then you're really selling the program short. It's better to not even offer it than to give it away for cheap. You're selling the host rewards cheap. Just don't do it. But if you do it, do it in a way that if you do this, you get it. Otherwise, it's going to be it would be a pay to play.
Excellent. And one question that came in the chat is, if you have a virtual event online and you say, I'm going to do a giveaway with the guest that interacts the most, meaning that they're liking the post, commenting, is that considered pay to play, or is that considered okay?
No, because so we tried to narrow it down. We honestly, when we were going through this with compliance, with the legal department, I've always played this role of what will legal let me get away with, so that the consultants can do as much as possible. So originally legal was like, that effort, you can't charge, you can't force a purchase, and you can't make effort. That used to be the 3 parameters. And it was like, well, what does effort mean? And then we had the little, well, liking isn't an effort, but driving over your house is an effort. And legal finally let us just say, look, it's pay to play if you're charging or you're requiring a purchase. And so those kind of things like, hey, the one that has the most likes, or the one that, those are all, anybody could earn those. You're not forcing them to buy something, and you're not charging them. And for you, there's no additional, there's no, I'm going to sell 100 tickets for $3 for the chance at a $50 warmer. Right. That's, so yeah, those are perfectly fine.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, on the giveaway thing, we've tried to, even on that is, hey, I'm doing a giveaway for this. As long as you're not going, I'm doing a diffuser giveaway for doing this. But if it's just, I'm doing a giveaway for this, and you're not saying what you're giving away, you could be giving away a high five, right? And so that's one of those places that we tried to kind of reduce the compliance reach, to just say, anybody could say they're doing a giveaway for the one that does this. But you're not obligating it to be, I'm doing a diffuser giveaway, because then the next person has to go, I'm going to do a diffuser and a warmer giveaway to try to one up each other. When it's just generic and nobody knows what the giveaway is, then it allows for it, but allows somewhat of a it doesn't cause a race to the bottom.
Excellent. All right. And then we have Superstar Director Emily Goodnick. She is in Canada, and she wants to move over to our charitable cause warmer.
Yeah.
So Emily, do you want to unmute yourself and ask about this?
Hey Chuck, how are you?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, you know what? We're so super proud of you. You look, not that you didn't always look amazing, but you look amazing.
Oh, thanks, Chuck. I appreciate that. And I know
please
you've
tell
been.
David, I think about him often.
Oh, well,
We had such a good time in Africa getting to know him. So
you are one of his favorite people. I will say that.
I will tell, if you guys don't know, I had a talk with David, because you guys are in Canada, but you were in the US.
Right.
And he talked about how he went to Canada because that's what you wanted to do. That's a real man right there. So anyway.
Yeah, I'll keep them.
Yep.
So in talking about the charitable cause, it's changed since we used to select a charity.
Mhm.
That was the cause that we promoted and supported through the entire catalog season, but we've changed it now. Can you talk a little bit about that, and sort of what we're allowed to do to help promote this, and maybe what we should avoid from a compliance perspective?
No, absolutely. So you would be stunned at how difficult it is to give away money to these charities if you're going to market using their IP. It became too cumbersome, and then really when you get into the world of charitable giving, it's amazing how few global, or at least very broad reach charities there are that are worth giving to. And so the process of choosing a set charity, designing a product for them, going back and forth with the product, having to order minimums, it was so cumbersome. And you ended up where we would have been better off just giving the charity money, because it cost us more to develop it than the money we were given to the charity. So it kind of reminded us of, when people ask us, we have our charitable cause warmer that we did, but we also have charitable giving that we did every year. Orville and Heidi had a set of money. People from around the community, around the country would submit ideas for us to give money to, like the Rockathon and the other monies that were being given directly by, essentially by Heidi and Orville because of the way the business is structured. But, you know, one of the things we would always reject were, well, we need you to sponsor the dinner, the fundraising dinner. Well, the reason we rejected that is because it would cost $25,000 to put on the dinner for them to get $20,000 donated. And we're like, why don't we just give you $25,000 and forget the dinner, right? Well, charities don't want to do that because one of the ways they stay in the mind's eye is to have these charitable events. So that work to fundraise for a specific person when you had to develop product and stuff like that just got to the point where it was really cumbersome. And then we thought, how can we do this differently? How can we do this better? So and this is where it becomes a little bit difficult to market, because we can't say ahead of time, hey, we're going to give to this charity and this charity and this charity without their permission. And you guys aren't allowed to say we're giving to this charity, this charity, and this charity without their permission. And so we had to be somewhat generic going, we're going to take a portion of it. We're going to put it into the Sensi Family Foundation, a 501c3. So in reality, what they're donating to is Sensi Family Foundation when they buy the product. And so, and then it's basically becomes a trust thing. And then it's like, hey, go on the Sensi Family Foundation page. They're going to talk about where they gave this money once they've given the money. But that it makes it really difficult for you guys to market the charitable cause. That's a trade-off that we have, which is why we have just buy the warmer. This is a beautiful warmer. This happens to be the one Sensi's going to take a portion of the sales and put in their 501c3 to donate. And so the only thing that would be out of compliance from a marketing standpoint on that is if you were using another company's IP, so Red Cross, whatever it is, to market the sale, because we don't have permission to put the two brands together. So, we acknowledge that it's a little bit, it's not nearly as clean as when we had a charity that we could actually go sponsor.
Well, we're thankful that we still get to make a donation to our communities and to charities. And I know that this kind of came about at the last minute as we were rolling out this catalog. So hats off to Home Office for recovering that as well. DPP.
Well, one of the nice things that we're going to be able to do, though, is instead of having to write one big check to one big charity, we're able to take this money that's earned and, hey, in Montreal, in Alberta, Canada, the consultants donated this amount. We're going to donate this amount to something in Alberta. Hey, the Florida consultants did this much in Florida. We're going to do this much money to some Florida charity. So we're not locked into one charity. So we'll be able to, and from what I understand, I haven't been in that for a while now. I think I'm part of the committee that will take these requests in, like I have been on the Sensi Family Foundation side, where we would get submitted to us all these requests, and we were part of the committee that decided where it was going to go. I'm sure we'll be that somewhat, but this really frees us up to be more flexible at who we give to. And we're able to maybe give to some of those minor charities like cystic fibrosis or some of these others that are more, just they're not broad enough to have it an all-encompassing one, but they're important enough to where you give them, you're able to give them something that makes a difference.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for sharing that with us. And we have DPP on from Alabama. DPP, what's your question?
Hi, Chuck.
Hey.
How's it going? This is a question that I have. You know, I'm the events person. So
Mhm.
can you tell us and share this with us? What is the difference between working an event such as at a civic center versus in a mall versus in a hair salon or flea
Mhm.
market?
Mhm.
And also, can you address if we're at an event, can we say, come on over here and see what we got? This is what we got. Can you address that? Yeah, those issues.
Okay. The first one would be, why is a civic center okay, but inside a mall isn't? Mainly because when you set up inside a mall, you're just basically a temporary store inside the mall, a temporary retail location, because the people coming into that mall are there to shop. They don't go there for any other reason. And when you have the compliance rule that says you can't set up in a retail location, a mall is a retail location. So you have to, you can't, it's really difficult to make the distinction between what is a event, and this is where it came up in the mall specifically, is you would have one individual with a permanent kiosk in the center of the mall, but contracting with the rotating bridal show, Christmas show, holiday show, right? They just locked in this space. It essentially was a kiosk in the middle of the mall. It just happened to be rebranded every 2 weeks with some other kind of show. And so it got to, this was early on, and it got to, well, why can't I just set up my own thing inside of the, a store inside of a mall? So the decision was made early on that really the mall, inside the mall, the hallway around the mall is really inside the retail location. That's why, for example, we don't really allow like down at the Village, for example, down here in Boise. If there was the similar thing, but it was outdoors, where, hey, we're going to have the holiday show and it's going to be, from October 1st to November 15th, not inside the mall because there's no roof but around here. So really, we just have always considered it, the malls or those kind of things inside retail locations. As far as like a nail salon or a bar or a restaurant or those kind of things, there are ways that you can have a home party inside a nail salon, for example. But and the guidelines say has to be after hours, invite only, can't be open to the general public, kind of thing. But it's one of these where you can't nuance one retail location from another. So you can't really say, you can set up a display, you can set up a cash and carry inside a nail salon, but not inside a toy store. And so you just have to kind of do a black and white. You can't set any cash and carry up in any retail location because it's
Well,
too
I
hard
remember
to
this one.
distinguish which one is which.
Oh, I remember years ago, Chuck, you could not.
Oops. Kelly, unmute yourself.
So let's just,
Okay.
did that cover it though, Debbie?
I wanted to ask about signage in the yard because I know this was an issue a few years ago. I don't know if it still
Yeah,
is.
we'll get to that one because that's a good one.
Okay.
You got a follow up, Debbie?
Oh yeah, when we're talking about working in the malls, what is it that we can do in the mall? What can we do in the mall if we're in the mall?
Just like any other retail location, you're allowed to do a product display, take orders to be delivered, not inside the mall. So just like any other retail location. So there are people that I know of that have information and order taking booths inside the mall. And it's just, you can't do cash and carry. So that's in the standards, that's the same with the nail salon. You have a display that is there built to create interest. Now, when we redid the standards, we went away from the 10 items, 1 item per, and we made it a little bit more nebulous to say it just needs to be a display that is to create interest. But you can't say, I'll take that warmer off the display. Here's $50 and they take the warmer. Can't be cash and carry. But you can certainly set up an information booth in the mall and take orders to be delivered at another time in another place with your product display. Yeah. And that's it. You're allowed to do that in any retail location. It's the cash and carry piece that you can't do.
Thank you. And thanks for those great questions, Debbie. We've got about 5 minutes left to round this up. We still want to get some tips to end this month of October. We've also been talking about the B word, the $1 billion mark for 2021. But Kelly had a question. Kelly, do you want to pop in very quick? Are you on?
No, I'm good. I would rather close with how we can close out October. Still amazing since we are almost mid-month.
I'll answer you really quick on the other one though too. Hold on a second. Oh shoot. Here, come on in.
You just swear.
No, he didn't.
Look right in. I'll be right in. Sorry, guys. Okay. Signage. If you go to the guide, the new guide, it talks about how you can't put signage on your house that makes it look like it's a retail location. So we got so many complaints that people would go, hey, I was driving by and I saw a Cincy independent consultant sign in somebody's window. So, or I saw they have a Cincy flag. So that, but if you have a Cincy independent consultant with open 9 to 5, come in, walk-ins welcome, it sort of sets that standard of that I'm open all the time. If you have a sign in your front, like it should be open house today, but not open house today permanently up there. It's every day it's an open house. Essentially it's this. Compliance works really well when we're honest with ourselves. And so you look at your signage and you go, what's my purpose for this sign? Is it to get people knocking on my door for an order? Or is it just to let people know that I'm a Cincy consultant? And if it's, I have this stuff in my yard so people knock on my door and ask for an order, it's probably out of compliance unless you're doing it for a temporary event. But if it's just a sign in your house, and it also has to say it's visible from the street and all this other stuff. But what people can't get away with is I have a she shed that has signs on it. That's not my house. No. You set up a she shed with parking, hours, advertising your hours. That's a store. That's a retail store, and you can't do that. So hopefully that answered that.
Love that. Thank you, Chuck. And just, to summarize compliance, we want to make sure that we protect Cincy, the company, and also all of us consultants. And that's why we do have a compliance department, but we also want to adhere to the DSA and also to the FTC. So it's more than just us making up rules. It's making sure that we're a reputable brand, a reputable company that adheres to guidelines, even federal guidelines that keeps us out of, when you hear about pyramid schemes and companies falling under, we don't want any of that for any of us. So thank you for what you do. And Kelly, can you go ahead and close us out? We want to talk about October.
On that one.
Yeah.
That's why we do those crazy letters when you have really lame income claims.
Oh.
Income claims is a huge deal to the FTC. And so we've gone way above and beyond. I have never seen a legitimate, what I would consider nefarious DS or direct selling income claim by any of our consultants. But we want to be able to point and say, look, we don't even let them say I was able to make a car payment. But just know when you get those, they're from a third party. They're not from us. Don't get freaked out about it. Just respond to it going, great, I'll take it down. Respond immediately and don't take it as an attack or somebody turned you in. Nobody turns anybody in for income claims. Those are a third party that we've hired to make sure that the FTC can't come to us and say we don't care. So anyway.
I love that. All right, Kelly, take us home.
All right, so I just want to thank Chuck on behalf of the entire panel. We really appreciate your time. We know this is your home time. This is a time that you have to take away from your family. I want to thank everybody that actually showed up tonight. We constantly stress the importance of those that go up, those that show up, go up. And Teresa had said at the beginning of this that we will be limiting it going forward to make sure that we're getting the full potential out of our Dream Stroke on Tuesday nights. So if you were not able to catch us live, you can catch the replay. And as we end it, I'm going to ask Chuck for one tip that we have left to optimize the rest of October. If you could give everybody one tip to get us to our $1 billion mark, what would it be?
Focus on what we have, not what we don't have. Right? Don't focus on the product status list. Focus on the stuff that isn't out of stock. Because I'll be honest, we have way too much inventory because we bought really high on most things. So if you really want to go big, there are a lot of things that are amazing products that you can sell. Don't rely on the LTOs that are coming, and you'll be happy for it. So that's sort of it. Don't get down when something doesn't happen, because I will tell you, shipping and logistics are an absolute mess. You can read, there's mainstream stories about it. There's stuff on the news every day about it. It is miracles that our teams are pulling off just to get what we have. But what's really great is, yeah, we might not get a certain warmer that we wished for Christmas, but we are going to have a lot of stuff that might not be that warmer. But guess what? Your customers don't know about that warmer unless you tell them. They're going to know about the warmers that you have. Teresa, 7 years ago, you killed it. You kill it every year without a single warmer that we have this year.
Mm-hmm.
So don't worry about what is coming. Look at what you have and operate on that. If you're in a rut, go back to the basics. Pretend you're brand new. Shoot for a shooting star or a sensational start level. Start over. Just go back to what you know works. Because a lot of times well, I put a Facebook ad up why everyone else is making sales, I'm not. Why is that? When 3 years ago, you were calling customers, you were more personable, there's something that you might be doing. And the other piece is you might be doing everything and you're still in a rut. That's business. Don't get discouraged. There are things out of your control that'll put you in a rut, especially if you're doing all that you can. But if you're making excuses or you're looking at somebody else going, well, why are they successful and I'm not? You're wasting your energy, totally wasting it. And guess what? You're not hurting the other person by wondering what they're doing right. Okay, I told the SSDs that our lives are not about us, right? They're about what we can do for others. The same kind of thing. Another person's success doesn't pay a single bill of yours. This is a battle you have with yourself, not against somebody else. You are competing only to yourself. And you know what's causing your ruts if you sit down and contemplate it for the most part. The other part of it is you could be doing everything right and things don't go right. If you're a parent, you know that happens. If you're if it doesn't matter what you're doing, you can be doing everything right and things still don't work out. Don't get discouraged by that. Believe in the systems you put in place and that things will get, one day your time will come. And one day, might be next week. And I will tell you this, there's not a single person along here. Teresa, I know you've gone through it. Deb, I know you've gone through it. Carol, I know you have. Kelly, I know you've all had times when you've questioned, what am I doing wrong? I'm not seeing success. And you've had to go back and get back to the basics. So don't beat yourselves up when you're doing everything right and it's not happening. It's just business. This isn't a paycheck. And anyone that's ever owned a business, man, the time it's going to go up and down. So just keep it up. Concentrate on what you can, not what you're going to see in the future. Worry about what you have right now. We will have plenty of product to get us to that billion, but it's really going to come down to, can we move as much of what we already have to customers versus dreaming about what might come later that isn't maybe not going to make it. Because there's still too many variables between now and the end of the year from what's actually going to show up at our doorstep. But we do have $1 billion worth of product already sitting in our warehouses. So
don't worry, we're just going to sell the crap out of what you give us. So
you guys are killing it, and it's going to be fantastic. You guys are making us really proud. So thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much. We have one other SSD that's on. Dorothy, do you want to say hello?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yes, all the questions were taken. It was great information. So thank you for your time, Chuck. We really appreciate it. And our teams love this. This is a tool that we can use later on when they can watch the recording to really hear about everything from compliance and what they can and cannot do. So thank you for your time.
Perfect. Thank you. And
Thank you,
if they
Chuck.
hear this, compliance actually is your friend.
Yeah.
They're either going to set you straight when you're doing something wrong. So don't ever look at them as an attack. And that's something I've pounded into them. And if they're not, you tell me. Right. See you guys.
Thank you, Chuck. Have a great evening.
Thanks again for the invite. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye.